Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian if you're new around here, and for returning subscribers, you are sexy beasts. That's what you get, by the way, just for subscribing. Random compliments at the start of these videos. Today, I was sitting down to actually just talk about some of the changes that I want to see made in New World. And then Scott Lane, the director, goes ahead and posts an update about their server instability and what they've done to correct it. So we'll actually dive into that first, and then we'll talk about my thoughts and what I'd like to see added, as well as get into the conversation about should there be mounts and more. So this will hopefully be a more conversational piece, hopefully a nice little palate cleanser with all the other news going on lately. And if you're curious about what that entails, you can always check my channel page, the last couple of videos. So we're going to be focusing in on New World here today. And just as a personal note, for all those who wished me happy birthday yesterday, thank you so much. If you haven't yet wished me happy birthday, you can totally do so in the comments. Don't worry about being late. I don't blame you. I didn't really make a big build up to the date itself, but and then if you guys want to see my reaction to what my wife gave me for my birthday, I posted that in Discord. Don't worry, it's safe for work. So any of you like people who had a dirty mind just now, note that it's completely safe to work, but I just posted that in Discord if you want to see my real reaction to what she surprised me with on my birthday. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about some New World. Let's have some fun. So it says, "Hi adventurers, it's been an amazing week since we started the closed beta, and I have loved watching everyone play New World. I hope that you're having fun and exploring and discovering some of the game's mysteries of Eternum. Thank you for your patience with the initial instability in the beta. As an update to our last communication, we created several test builds over the weekend and discovered the problem. With the help of a few servers, as of Monday morning Pacific time, we've had the entire service running with the last update. Much more stable code. We know that there are more rare crashes that can still occur, and we're looking into those as well. We also want to thank you for all the bugs and exploits submitted. Our highest priority have been the server stability and world availability due to the demand that we're experiencing thus far, and we are starting to get more comfortable in regards to stability and availability. We are now able to pivot and focus on addressing these bugs and exploits that have surfaced in the closed beta. We have a large number of in-game fixes coming in, several of which address the exploits that are being used currently." And I'm thinking I know one of these exploits that they're gonna nerf or something. And knew there would be some of these, and it is our goal to address them during the beta. We are working to fix the ones that have surfaced, and after launch, our process of approaching exploits will be different. They will have the highest priority items to fix, and we will go back to taking action against accounts that are also caught using identified exploits. This will include rollback or removal of any of the game to those who have exploited or benefited from using them. We understand how this is vital, and it's to have a leveling playing field for all players within New World, and we're excited to continue improving New World with you." I'm going to go and highlight kind of like a little preview so you can see here what's coming up. I honestly really happy to see more server stability. I have been just busy with a couple sprints at work. If you guys don't know, I'm a software engineer, and that's what I do for a living. And this is, as many people think, he's a full-time YouTuber. Not even close, but I do appreciate you guys watching my videos. But anyhow, in this regards, them focusing on the stability is obviously priority one. No one's going to sit around and worry about an exploit that a game has if you cannot even play the game. That's really what the structure of this beta is. My experience overall with beta, outside of oh, we're going to do maintenance, we got to change this, and we got to fix that, has been incredibly positive. I have really just the only downside to the beta right now is literally my character progress doesn't carry forward. So I'm not hugely motivated outside of questions and little guides and little bits of things that I discover that I want to share with you guys in videos. So that's essentially kind of my motivation. I obviously see people in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and I go I don't know if I've got that in me to do that twice. You know, on the 31st, absolutely, let's dive in, because my character and my progression is going to be my progression, along with any updates that happen from then to now, or from now to then. There we go. That's the right order of time. And so ideally, I'm not necessarily stressed about it. So when I have been able to sit down and play, it's been a very positive experience hanging out with you guys in Discord, and I'm very much looking forward to doing that. Speaking of which, I think Saturday, if you guys are interested in, I'm going to be streaming over on Twitch. That link is in the description, usually one of the top links. So I'll be streaming that Saturday, playing some New World. If you guys want to come hang out with me in Discord, we can just kind of hit chit chat, or we can be playing together. We play on the Atlantis server on NA East. Hopefully the game's up and running, because that would be a real bummer. Like, anyway, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to it as the beta comes to an official end on August the 2nd. So I'm happy to see this update from Scott. I'm sure he's more than thrilled that they've been able to identify the issue of the stability, and hopefully people can end up having a really strong and positive week with the game. Now, there's a lot of critique that I've seen. People said that I've been paid for my review. All right, we're back. Jump cut and more and all. I've seen people like accuse me of like that my initial impressions have been paid. I've been seeing very positive and then very negative views of this game. Here's my theory about all of it. I think there's a wide range of MMO players who think they like MMORPGs, but they really don't. And they've tricked themselves into thinking that for whatever reason. Maybe time has changed and their ability has changed. And so stepping into an MMORPG that acts, in my opinion, like an MMORPG is one of the biggest contrasts. You're used to and nothing against WoW or Final Fantasy XIV, but those games are very theme park in their design. New World's added some theme park, but then I still also feel the sandbox, that player-driven experience and things that impact the world and change the way you might make your own goals, make your own quests and things of that nature. Not saying one is better than the other, but I do have a preference coming from Final Fantasy XI. So for me, New World is checking a lot of boxes as to what I like and what I value. If you go look at anybody who plays an MMO, and if you follow them for long enough, eventually you kind of get a kind of a checklist of what they define as a decent MMORPG. Like, what is it specifically that checks those boxes? And the fact that I see people running around the open world, the fact that we're like out in the world leveling, it's not an instance simulator like some of these games have become, with all the phasing and all this different stuff, so that eventually like you're not actually ever seeing anybody else, and then you're questioning like, why am I not just playing a single player game? I thought this was an MMO. New World checks those boxes. It really makes me feel connected to the world itself. Will it in the long run? The only way to find out is time. Nobody with a camera and a mic and able to capture gameplay footage knows that at this time, and that's the only way you can kind of find out. I think a lot of New World is more set up in terms of what happens with the first expansion and the second expansion, because when you think about its model, that's one way to kind of prove their words of a 10-year plan and more. Like, are they going to keep investing in this game? And personally speaking, I think they are. I think Amazon needs a win. I think they want to win. I think New World's a really good avenue. I don't think it's going to attract like the mass market. We're not going to get to this, because it's not a subscription-based game, which will help remove a barrier. But at the same time, it's not a free-to-play game like, a lot of the games that the kids play nowadays. So outside of the fact that, it'll be interesting to see if MMOs have this resurgence among gamers, especially as a new generation of gamers comes online and wants something a little bit meatier than, say a battle royale. Well, ultimately, we'll have to wait and see the test of time. Now, let's jump into my feedback. This is what I've kind of submitted to the team, and I'll include these links if you guys are curious. But essentially, it's keeping XP relevant at CAB. We'll talk about that. Bring back the open world mob farming, and I say bonus XP the longer the mob has been alive. If any Guild War 2 players are out there, they know what I'm talking about. And a guest or mirrored server so that we can play our characters while we wait. I'm going to click on this one because this is the first thing that I thought of when playing, and especially when I wasn't able to log into Atlantis because the queue time was massive. And I said, is it possible to have a mirrored server or allow me to guest on a different server with my character? So that way I'm progressing. And then once my server queue has become available, then I can migrate back to my home world, my home server, and be where my friends and company are playing. One of the things that I found is that I don't really feel like I want to invest in a second character or third character, especially in the beta, but probably even more so when the game is live. At some point that might change, right? I might hit level cap and say, you know what, I want to do that again on a different server with a different company and experience that one of 3 ways at the current rate of 3 factions in the game. So future Brian might completely rescind on this option, and then I just kind of jump in and play wherever. However, there's a lot of coordinating, a lot of communicating. These games are very social in nature, and being that our company has been growing within the Discord, it just makes sense that we want to kind of play together when possible. And when you're waiting in queue, that's not time that you're playing. So it'd be nice to see something brought into that. From here, talking about open world mob farming, that's something that's really changed from the preview. If you guys haven't experienced it, where open world farming is still, I mean, it's not viable. You're getting experience in your kill, but it's all kind of really driven more to the town boards. And that's the exploit that I think one of the things they're referring to. You go grab all the town, board posts from all the cities, and then you do them once, and then you turn them all in for just like all of this, exceptional experience. And while that thing, I probably think that's going to get changed, where maybe like you can only take one at once, or the progress is tracked individually. I would like to personally see that open world mob farming become a balance in that regards, to where you can go form parties and just kind of go, just like you would strip, clear the forest in a certain area. You can go like really farm out and just kind of go, I guess all ham in on the enemies themselves and get experience. Now, personally, I would say like it'd be really cool to see that the longer the enemy and the NPC, the monster is alive, that could constitute in bonus experience, and maybe even making them a little bit tougher. They've lived longer, so they're more experienced, and therefore they're going to put up a harder fight. I think that would be something really in tandem. And then with that, you end up getting a little additional bonus experience depending on how long they lived. The reason that would be really interesting is because they've added that in PvP. If you guys aren't aware, your flag for PvP, the longer that you live, if you end up eventually getting killed, well, that's going to result in bonus experience for you as a player. So take it for what it is. I think that's something that could really benefit the game overall, and especially old school MMO players like myself would have hopefully a good time just killing monsters out in the open world, fighting world bosses, and having that exploration aspect fulfilled that isn't necessarily tied to kind of whatever the town board or your faction quests say for the specific day or time that you're logging in. And then finally, mine, keeping XP relevant at level cap. Thank you levels is what I'm called. I don't think like in a world today, you don't want to sit here and put too much progression behind this, like once hitting level cap, because then it ends up becoming something required among the player base. As much as it's nice to get power from additional leveling, something like a Paragon system or something like a merit system from Final Fantasy XI, ultimately I think that if you can still have XP have its value even once you hit the level cap of 60, then as a game overall, there's a healthy sense of, yep, you gained an extra level that doesn't really, give you any power or stats, but it gives you like a loot chest. And then you open that up and it could have armor, it could have materials, it could have coin, it could have glamour. It doesn't really matter. Like it just is a reward loot table that's going to say, here, thank you so much for leveling. Thanks for so much for continuing to play the game and getting that additional experience. And maybe they could put some kind of meta achievements behind it that are seasonal or something of that nature. Now, maybe that's going to be what the battle pass that eventually gets introduced adds to the game, is that additional set of experience that's tied into this, battle pass that hopefully never expires. If you guys have seen what Halo Infinite's doing, I think that's a really solid tip for RPGs, not really having that FOMO of, oh God, I have to be leveling, I have to be playing. Because for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the fact that I had a birthday yesterday, but that's the kind of thing that just kind of has me like say, all right, you know what? I don't need this stress in my life. I've got enough going on. And if you're like me, you understand what I'm talking about in that regards. Anyway, let's see if this is the right camera. It is perfect deal. So, finally, I want to kind of talk about mounts, my ideas here. I have no issue if they do add mounts to the game, but I personally would like to see that it's a system that kind of reflects the nature of the game. I think it should have some kind of resource requirement. Most of the mounts requests, I think, are coming from those who've been trained in that style of game, that mounts are something also to be collected, that they're just another thing to do and to go after. And obviously they have an impact. They make traveling the world much easier. Personally speaking, I think that if you're going to add in mounts, the first system that I would add in is some kind of carriaging system that would take you from town to town. One of the things that I would enjoy is that if I was able to go into a carriage and just let it auto run me to a town, maybe I have to be there, or maybe like there's a cost to that. So that way my character is going to auto travel, and it's obviously saving me on the Azoth kind of cost from teleport to teleport. But obviously it takes the physical time to move in game, allowing me to engage with chat, engage with inventory management, and do maybe a handful of other things. I think that would be ultimately kind of fascinating. It'd be interesting to see if there was also events where players would want to protect said traveling if they're going into dangerous areas, or your carriage comes under attack. I would love to see a holistic system, right? Because fast travel for the sake of fast travel only makes the world smaller, and I don't feel like that's necessary. At some point as the game expands, maybe that's going to make more sense down the road, and I'm all fine for the collection aspect of it. I would just point them to Guild Wars 2 in which that mounts actually added a lot to the exploration of the game, and not just a sense of fast travel of just like, now I can get from here to here faster. Because there's an aspect of the market and items and materials that does constitute getting out into the world and taking that risk, as opposed to where a mount, you know, makes it less risky, less dangerous, the world much smaller. Obviously it's a charged topic. I'd love to know your thoughts, whether you're definitely pro mount or more. I just think that if they're going to introduce mounts at some point, and I really want them to really think through that system, and that could be something that is leveled. I always enjoy leveling anything in that regards. I think there needs to be a resource cost to it at some point. If you just introduce it and there's no having the mic and there's no residual cost to it, then there's no real, like, I guess, decision making, to where it literally becomes a necessity, as opposed to like, well, you know, it would benefit you, but you do need to make sure you have, you know, enough feed for the mount themselves, or something along those natures. Now, maybe I'm talking about this in too hardcore of a fashion, so let me know where you fall in this regards. Hopefully this is a fun little discussion, little thought, a little bit of news, and that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, sound off with you know, Hail Hydaelyn in that regards. I'm looking at my salt shakers that I got for the FanFest, and that's what came to mind. If you guys understand Final Fantasy XIV at all, that will make sense. If you don't, you can just say Hail Hydra as a valid opportunity to really make it confusing for anybody who hasn't yet watched this video. Anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for me. Hopefully you found something fun in this video. Thanks for being here. Love you faces. I hope to see you next time, but until then, take care. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and if you're listening to this voice, you are a special person, and I really do appreciate it. If you feel like watching more, YouTube's got its recommendations for you on the screen. Otherwise, I hope to see you soon. Bye.